For years, the most capable AI coding models have lived behind API paywalls, closed weights, closed terms, closed ecosystems. If you wanted frontier-level code generation, you paid the toll. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. No exceptions. That calculus just broke. In late June 2025, Chinese AI lab Zhipu AI, operating internationally under the name ZAI, released GLM-5.2, a large language model purpose-built for software engineering. It benchmarks above GPT 5.5 and Gemini 2.5 Pro on multiple code evaluation suites, and sits within striking distance of Claude Opus 4. The difference? GLM 5.2 ships under the MIT license, fully open weights, run it locally, modify it, ship commercial products with it, no permission needed. Zhipu AI was founded in 2019 as a spin-off from Tsinghua University's Knowledge Engineering Group. It's one of China's most well-funded AI labs, having raised over $6 billion by early 2025, with backing from entities including the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. The GLM model family has been iterating publicly since 2022, but previous releases sat in the mid-tier, capable, not frontier. GLM 5.2 is a different animal. Zhipu positions it explicitly as a coding-first model, and the benchmark suggests that's not marketing language. On SWI Bench Verified, the industry standard test where models resolve real GitHub issues, GLM 5.2 reportedly scores in the mid to high 60% range, placing it above GPT 5.5 and competitive with Claude Opus 4's published numbers. On Live Code Bench, which tests code generation across fresh problems to minimize data contamination, GLM 5.2 again posts top-tier results. The Aider Polyglot benchmark, which measures a model's ability to edit existing code across multiple programming languages, tells a similar story. GLM 5.2 lands in the upper tier, outperforming several closed models that cost orders of magnitude more to use. A caveat, some of these benchmarks are self-reported by Zhipu. Independent verification is still catching up, but early third-party testing from developers and the Aider leaderboard maintainers has broadly corroborated the claims. GLM 5.2 ships with a 1 million token context window, large enough to ingest entire mid-sized codebases in a single pass. This matters for real-world software engineering, where understanding how a change in one file affects behavior 3 directories away is the difference between a useful suggestion and a hallucinated one. Zhipu has not publicly disclosed the full parameter count, though community estimates based on compute requirements place it in a range consistent with other frontier models. What is clear is that it supports a wide range of programming languages and demonstrates particularly strong performance on Python, TypeScript, Rust, and Go. One of GLM 5.2's most significant advantages is accessibility. Within days of release, it gained native support in Ollama, the leading local inference tool.
That means any developer with sufficient hardware can pull the model and run it entirely offline. No API calls, no usage tracking, no rate limits. For those who prefer cloud access, ZAI offers a coding plan API with pricing that dramatically undercuts closed competitors. Early reports suggest costs around $1 to $2 per million input tokens, roughly a tenth of what comparable Claude or GPT API calls cost for equivalent capability. Integration support also arrived quickly for Cline, Roo Code, and OpenCode, the open-source AI coding agent frameworks that developers increasingly use to build autonomous development workflows. The MIT license is the most permissive, widely used open-source license in existence. 2 sentences grant you the right to use, copy, modify, merge, publish, distribute, sublicense, and sell the software. The only requirement is preserving the copyright notice. This is not a technicality. It's a structural shift. When a frontier-capable model ships under MIT, indie developers and small companies can embed it directly in commercial products. No API dependency, no usage-based pricing that scales against you, no terms of service that can change overnight and break your business model. Compare that to OpenAI's terms, which explicitly restrict competitive use cases, or Anthropic's acceptable use policy, which reserves broad discretion over permitted applications. Consider what a solo developer or a 3-person startup can now build. A fully autonomous code review tool, an AI-native IDE that runs entirely on local hardware, a CI/CD pipeline with built-in AI-assisted debugging, a developer CLI that generates, tests, and deploys code, all without a single external API call. Before GLM 5.2, building any of these at frontier quality meant tethering your product to OpenAI or Anthropic. Your margins were their margins. Your uptime was their uptime. Your product roadmap was subject to their policy changes. Now, the model itself becomes an asset you control. That's not a minor convenience. For indie builders trying to ship AI-native tools, it's the difference between building on rented land and owning the foundation. GLM 5.2 doesn't exist in isolation. Meta's Llama series, Alibaba's TUN models, and DeepSeek have all pushed open weight capabilities forward. But GLM 5.2 appears to be the first open model to credibly match closed frontier performance specifically on software engineering tasks. That's a meaningful distinction. Code is where AI capability most directly translates to economic value. A model that can reliably resolve real GitHub issues, edit existing code bases, and reason across 100,000-line repositories isn't a research curiosity. It's a production tool. The major closed labs are watching. If open-weight models continue closing the gap on code, the pricing and licensing terms of closed APIs will face sustained downward pressure. Important questions remain. Training data provenance is not fully documented.
Long-term maintenance commitments for an open-weight model from a Chinese lab operating in a complex geopolitical environment are uncertain. An independent benchmark verification, while progressing, is not yet comprehensive. There are also open questions about fine-tuning stability, performance on extremely large mono-repos, and how the model handles security-sensitive code generation compared to closed competitors with more extensive safety filtering. But the trajectory is clear. The gap between open and closed AI models, specifically for code, is no longer a generation behind. It may be months or less. GLM 5.2 didn't just release a model, it released a permission structure. And for the thousands of developers who've been waiting to build AI-native tools without a corporate dependency, that permission might matter more than the benchmarks.